So yeah, it's my dear friend Shanda like Panda. I remember when I first met you and I pronounced your name incorrectly. You said no, it's Shanda like Panda, and I was like, yeah, I always remember
Yes.
that.
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad you're here. It's like
Thank you.
thrilling to me, So I was on your podcast. Now you're on mine, and
Yes.
it's so fun to visit with you so close together after not
Mm-hmm.
having visited in a really super long time. So
Exactly.
yeah, so I just shared with everybody your wonderful all the wonderfulness that you are. I mean, you, vocalist, writer, sacred community curator. I love those descriptions.
Thank you. Thank you.
And oh my goodness, in terms of your, singing, you've obviously have such amazing reviews. I want to read this from Cicely Janis. Rising up from the overcrowded and often cliched vocal scene in jazz, Chanda Rule is truly a breath that, once taken in, could sustain your life.
Mm.
My goodness, that is quite a statement.
Yes. Yeah, I felt really honored. I
Yeah,
felt really honored for her to write that.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
Well, as I've shared with my with the sanctuary before, like we met at One Spirit Interfaith while I was going through the program, and you were developing a musical offering there that you called Interfaith Taizé that
Mm-hmm.
you invited me into, and that was the beginning of my glorious friendship with you that
Yeah.
has been so inspiring. Um, so to start us off, I think it would be wonderful, really, if you could give us a little background on where you came from and how you got involved in ministry and singing and how all the things occurred, and now you're a mom, and just sort of maybe a quick catch up from the beginning to here. How's
A
that?
quick catch up from the beginning, from birth. Actually, pre-birth. I have to start pre-birth. And
Exactly.
I no, I mean I say that because uh I come from a long line of ministers. So I have
Oh,
to say that, right? When we talk
yes.
about, the ministry aspect. So
Mhm.
I come from that on my dad's side. There were a lot of ministers, and then my mom loved music. She loved singing. Both my parents loved music, but my mom loved to sing, and she was a choir lady. So
Oh,
she was always in choirs. That was her life.
yes.
Um, so yeah, so I would say that's where my love of singing
Mm-hmm.
began, because I know that we sang together all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember all the details, but now being a mom and I know
Yeah,
how I communicate with kites,
yeah.
we're always singing. I'm like singing, "Oh, it's time to wake up in the morning." So I'm assuming my mom was doing the same thing. Um
Oh, how wonderful.
yeah. So that was our connection, singing and harmonizing around the house, and my parents, they were church people, so we went
Mhm,
to church. I listened to lots of church programming.
mhm.
My dad grew up in a it's called Kojic, Church of God in Christ. So in
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yes,
so and his dad was a minister, so that meant they were in the church all the time
yes.
in church, all the time. And by the time he had me, he did not want to be in church all the time. So, um, but right, it was still something that was in his heart. So,
Yeah,
yeah, that was a big part of my upbringing: church music,
yeah.
and I loved singing. And it became I'm an only child, and I sang. I kept myself company with singing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I sang a lot. I would record myself singing into tape recorders, because that's what we had back in the day.
That's
And
what
then
we had back then. Yeah.
I'd play. I had a system, and then I would play myself singing with like the on another thing, and I would like record those things. And
Yes.
this is what I did with my time as a child. So,
You know, that is so funny because I've never heard anyone say that, but I did a similar thing
are you
too.
serious?
No, I'm
I
kidding.
love
I'm
that.
not serious. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm totally serious. Yeah.
Wow.
So I would have, so my dad was in broadcasting, and we always had different recording devices laying around the house.
Okay.
So I would sing into one recording device, play that back and sing a harmony on top of it.
Yes! Yes! Oh my God, you're the first person. Let me tell you, I was obsessed with this.
Yeah, me too.
Oh my God. That is hilarious. Yes. This is what I did with my time growing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I hear
Yeah.
you.
This is what I did. So yeah, so that was my like kind of love obsession with
Mhm.
music. And actually a funny thing, so yeah, I was really bullied as a child, right?
Oh,
So yeah, it was rather traumatic and hard growing up.
goodness.
So
I
I'm like
totally relate to
chuckling.
that too.
I'm
Wow.
like, I shouldn't be
Okay.
chuckling, but that's
Yeah.
kind of how we deal with things sometimes.
Yeah.
But an interesting thing happened. I don't know, my junior or senior year. It was very late in my high school time.
Hmm.
Someone heard me singing and was just like, "Ooh, I didn't know you can sing." And like literally overnight, like things changed.
Yeah.
But like from like really being like a social pariah to like, oh, she's the girl who can sing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it changed. Like all of a sudden, like I went from someone who wanted to literally disappear because that
Hmm.
was easier than like to
Hmm.
be teased to like, oh, I'm like doing a few solos and doing this thing. And so I think on the positive side, I think I learned and grew a lot with music. But on the other side of that, it became kind of like a crutch, a kind of like a separate identity of like, look at me, like I can do this, right? And
Hmm.
it's like a really weird balance.
Hmm.
I think the music thing, but it's been
Yeah.
a part of my life since
Yeah.
then. It's been a very important part of my life since forever,
Hmm.
and yeah, and God and spirit for many different reasons. Like I think that's like one part of me I can't put words to it, and the other
Yeah.
part of me was like my church life was a part of my life where I was always accepted and always loved, and people,
Right.
I had friends and those things. So
Mhm.
so it's really interesting, especially going into more interspiritual and interfaith circles, because
Mhm.
um, a lot of people in those circles have really been hurt by traditional religion,
Yes.
and it's sometimes challenging and sometimes healing to hear my story, because it was
Yes.
really, although there were a lot of questions that I had and kind of a lot of
Mhm.
pushback, but the pushback in the denomination that I grew up in was welcomed.
Mhm.
And the people were just, it was always, I come from an open and affirming congregation. And so it was just a lot of love. And I'm super grateful for that. And that's
Yeah.
something that I've just been passionate about how I can share that and with the world. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that comes out of trauma, is that you just become
Yes.
hyper sensitive to
Mhm.
what people are feeling, and you don't want people to feel that. And you want people to feel
Right.
like the love and acceptance. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
those are things that have pushed me to what I'm
Wow.
doing now.
That is fantastic. Well, I want to explore more of what you're doing now, but first let's do a song, shall we?
We're gonna do a song. Okay. All right, let's
Okay, I'll
see.
mute myself here.
I'm turning all my stuff on. Um, okay, so short songs are okay, I hope also. Okay. So listen, tell me about sound. I hope the sound is okay. If it's not, then just signal me and I'll like try to adjust.
Okay, great.
This song is called Just As I Am, and it's like a song slash chant. And I wrote it like I did a song challenge a few years ago, that I was going to write a tiny song every day, and this was one of the songs. Right here, right now, just as I am, I give my heart, I give my hands to simply say thank you for all right here, right now, just as I am. Thank you for all the ups and downs, for all that I've yearned and all that I've learned. Thank you for all the everything that brought me right here, that brought me right now, just as I am, just as I am, just as I am, just as I am. I am just as I am, just as I am. I am. I am just as I am, just as I am. I am. Oh, I am. I am just as I am. I am just as I am. I am. Thank you.
Oh my God, that was fabulous, fabulous, fabulous.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that's so fun. It reminds me, well, obviously, Just As I Am is a old-timey hymn, and I'm sure that was part of your vocabulary growing up. Am I right? Yeah. So that's such an interesting well, take on it, if you will, or
Uh-huh.
a revision, of it.
Yeah.
Um, I've done I like to do the same thing. Like I'll take phrases from old hymns and things that, or the hymn itself that
Mm-hmm.
that we associate with, and are really familiar with, and then sort of turn it on its head. How do you feel like, uh, and I don't know that you necessarily based that particular song on Just As I Am, but how do you feel like you've grown since you first heard Just As I Am in church, and
Mm.
now with this particular expression? How does that phrase land
Ah,
for you differently, do you think?
yes, that is awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that question. And it's actually something that I've been thinking about a lot. And these actually, in my sense that I'm thinking of, I know this is like a huge like conversation, but what
It
I've
is.
been noticing a lot is just the difference, the cultural difference in how we make expressions about the divine.
Yes.
And so, why this is interesting to me right now is because in the mornings, for a while, I've been reading from the Yoga Sutras, which
No
has
kidding.
yes.
Really? Uh, is it Shanna, it's amazing. Look what I'm reading right now.
Oh my goodness, look at you. I wish I was by my couch. I could like whip it out. Yes,
Is it the
yes.
same or is it a different
No, it's a different
composition?
one. It's a different
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
And they break down each one, and they have it in English, and then they have like a short reading on it and like a short reflection
Right.
to reflect on throughout the day.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I'll start my day with that, and then throughout the day, like a couple hours later, I'm at the gym and I'm listening to Kirk Franklin, right? So it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
different way, different expressions of the divine,
Uh-huh.
gospel music,
Yeah.
based on, I wouldn't say a like traditional or progressive like Christian standpoint, but a Christian
Right.
standpoint.
Right.
But specifically like, and I'll say like Black Christianity, because it's like
Hmm.
kind of a different bend.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of there's a lot of conversation or musical conversation and sentiment about worthiness.
Ah, yes.
And so, from a Yoga Sutras standpoint, this is all about self-knowledge, of
Yeah.
course,
Yes. Yes.
and standing in your worth, not from like an
Mhm.
egocentric standpoint,
Right.
but
Right.
right. And
Hmm.
then I'm listening to this gospel music,
Uh-huh.
which I love with all my
Yeah.
heart,
Me
right?
too.
And
Yeah.
talking about how unworthy,
Exactly.
we are.
Right.
So, you know, it's interesting because I feel like they are, at this point, I just feel like they're different representations
Uh-huh.
of of human condition and how and what we need from the divine, right?
Right.
So how we're
Right.
reflecting this. And so
Uh-huh.
that's where I am with it right now. When I grew up, that was the only language that I
Right.
knew.
Right.
And now it's like an addition. I have that language
Yes.
which is still relevant to
Hmm.
me and
Hmm.
my family, my ancestors, and my culture.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
certainly at times I'm like, wow, like, man, I just messed something up royally. Right? I am not worthy of like this blessing. I definitely still feel like that. And
Right.
also like, wow, and
Yeah.
just as I am
Yep.
accepting myself, as a reflection of the largeness of the divine and the creation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where I am today. Who knows what it's going to be like in 5 years, but
That was extensive. Oh God, I loved that answer, and would love to have more conversation on that. It was actually, you went right to the heart of where I wanted to go with that question, was the different types of like you said, cultural interpretations of the divine and this, that, and the other. I get really lost in the I think I told you on your podcast, in the Sanskrit verses, and of course I'm reading the Radiant Sutras now, and I'm trying to put them into music, and they don't
mm,
rhyme, so that's kind of new for me, and I'm sort of like, how do I work with it? Because I want to keep the integrity of it all, but I relate it to some phrases remind me of the really deep devotional path, where, like, when I was growing up, I would, you know, the devotion to Jesus, say, you know what I mean? And so there's that reminds me of how I was raised, but there's also, um, the non-dual interfaith pathway that we set on in one spirit, and then you went on to Union Theological. So I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your time at Union Theological.
Union was interesting. It was a man. This place, like, yeah, it blows you right open in a different way, right? So did One Spirit.
Yeah. Yes.
I think I wasn't ready for Union. I wasn't ready. I had some moments there, and I think so. I loved being at Union.
Hmm.
The reason why I loved being there is because I discovered something new that I love to do, which was like I rediscovered writing.
Ah.
But there was one thing when I came in, I was just like, I let my advisors know. I was like, look, I want to be here. I want to study theology and the arts. I'm not interested in writing sermons and doing
Right.
all this, right? And
Right.
they were like, oh, really? Right? So I was like, yeah, that's what I said. I'm all good with the other stuff.
Right.
So, but it's required. You have to,
Right.
do the preaching aspect. And
Yeah.
so I had an amazing advisor and I had a student advisor, and he just would not let up on me. He was like, what is this? What are you turning in? You said that you weren't into preaching. Why are you turning this in? This is not you. Do something else. And he just kept like poking and poking. And finally, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna write a story. I like to write stories. I'm gonna do this, and that wasn't enough. He was like, "You're a musician. What is this? Do something
Mhm,
else. Do something
mhm,
else."
mhm.
And so, while I was there, I started writing these stories, and with a musical aspect. And the musical aspect was something that I was making up. I was doing some improvisation
Right.
and involving people by singing along
Yeah,
with
yeah,
these stories. And I absolutely love doing this.
yeah.
And even the cool thing about Union is that it is they are really pushing boundaries. They push
Oh,
boundaries a
okay.
lot, and they are very interested in the liberative aspects of Christianity and
Wow.
Jesus. And so they look at Jesus as this like a like a freedom fighter,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like, so you get
Yeah.
like a lot of people coming there that, really do want to study Christianity from like a religious aspect,
Right.
but you get a lot of people there that are just like community
Mhm.
organizers because they're like, look, this dude, like Jesus, was just like speaking out for everyone on the margins, and
Yeah,
wow, look
yeah.
at this Jesus movement. We want to like learn from this movement.
Mhm.
So
That's
with
how I
that,
became attracted to Jesus.
really.
Yeah, yeah, because of the sort of radical, well, we were in the 70s and it was, we called ourselves Jesus freaks, so it was that kind of thing. Jesus as a radical, uh,
Mm-hmm.
life changer and all
Mm-hmm.
of that. So yeah, I have a very similar connection in that way. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with that openness and with people there that are willing to guide you with that, I'm sorry, hold on, I just did something. It was cool because I was able to push, right? So I think at a traditional seminary, they would have been like, "What do you want to do? You want to take this sacred text and make it into something else?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they were like, "Yeah, do it. Research, do it. Find out what your community needs and like create a story." And so I love it because I started out with oh my gosh, my first one was a story about the woman who was washing Jesus's feet with her hair. So I completely
Hmm.
rewrote that. And the
Hmm.
last thing I've done was on Eve and completely like rewrote the Eve story. And somebody actually commissioned me to do it.
No kidding.
So yes. And so that was fun to do.
Oh my goodness. I want to hear these. Are they available anywhere? Or have you recorded any of this?
Yes. You know what? I am actually in the process of redoing my website so it's
Oh,
one and not three.
yeah, yeah.
And and I'm gonna put them up there. I've been
Yay.
hiding a little bit. I don't know what, don't ask me what my problem is.
That is so
Yes.
exciting. I didn't know you'd done that. Now, I do want to talk about the book that I do know uh, about that you've written, but would you like to do a song before we talk about that, or would you like to go ahead and talk about the book?
Um, yeah, I mean we can do a song. We can do a
Let's do a
song.
song.
Let's do
Let's do
it.
a
Let's
song.
do
Then
it.
we'll come back and we'll talk about your book. Uh,
Okay. Okay, here we go.
How butterfly the one I'm referring to is how butterfly got her beautiful wings.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
There you
All right, here we
go.
go.
Okay.
If I can stand just for a moment, let my prayer rise before you as incense. Lord, make my heart beat a holy flame and take my breath as an offering of sacrifice. If just for a moment, let all that I hear and all that I see bring peace. No matter the place, whatever I face, let this be a moment of peace. If I can stand just for a moment. Let my fear fall like sweet drops from paradise. Lord, hold me still now, just for a while. Revive my mind and then let my soul fly. If just for a moment, let all that I hear and all that I see bring me peace. No matter the place, whatever I face, let this be a moment of peace. If just for a moment, let all that I hear and all that I see bring a peace. No matter the place, whatever I face, let this be a moment of peace. Let this be a moment of peace.
Mm, so beautiful, Chanda.
Thank you.
You just really, 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 really touched.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let me fly, you sing, and you're just like flying as you're singing. It's just so beautiful.